Hatch keys, arguably one of the most valuable items in all of Arc Raiders. Hatch keys offer you a way out of a game with minimal combat, which is fantastic for players who want to avoid combat, or for players who are just way too looted to want to risk taking on other players on extraction or on their way there. Whatever your reason may be, hatch keys can be one of the most important utilities in all of Arc Raiders when it comes to building a healthy stash. Today, we're going to be taking a look at how we can farm these hatch keys and how to, of course, set up a hatch key farm. And for that, I got both good news and bad news. The good news first is that farming these are surprisingly easy. I crafted these 32 keys here just for this video to showcase how easy it is to farm them. And by the way, I made all of these keys in a matter of 1 day of recording. This wasn't like accumulating throughout since release or anything like that. Now that's the good news. The bad news now is that if you're just starting out Arc Raiders, this guide will not be doable right away. The reason being, first of all, the farm is in Blue Gate, which you'll need to play at least, I believe, 24 games before getting into Blue Gate, but you also need a refiner tier 3 and a utility station tier 2. Of course, you're going to need both of these to make hatch keys with extreme ease. Don't worry, I'll explain how to level them up and get them to these tiers quicker and how to farm the necessary materials. Now, actually going around and relying on looting a full-on key is incredibly inconsistent and slow. Crafting your own keys, however, will honestly fill up your stash full of keys far quicker than you would expect. So let's say you don't have a refiner tier 3 and a utility station tier 2. How can we get them up to those levels? To get the utility station to tier 2, you'll need 2 damage heat sinks, 5 electrical components, and 6 niche scanners. For the niche scanners, of course, just kill 6 niches. For the damage heat sinks, you'll find them in technological areas. That's going to be any of these areas here with the little square-like icon, and usually I find damage heat sinks are just kind of sitting on top of cabinets or on top of other stuff rather than actually lootable inside. So make sure to keep an eye out. Also, the place that we're going to be looting today yields a ton of damage heat sinks, so we're going to go over that here in a second. For the electrical components, if you can't craft them with your refiner yet, you can find them in electrical areas. They're honestly pretty straightforward to find, and you can also recycle a lot of blues and green electrical materials into these as well. You need this utility station for crafting the keys, by the way. You can also alternatively just put in points into Traveling Tinkerer on the survival skill tree, and you could just kind of craft the necessary keys in game, but honestly, I would just level up your utility station. For the refiner, to get it to tier 2, you'll need 3 toasters, 5 arc motion cores, and 8 fireball burners. For the fireball burners, just, well, of course, once again, just kill 8 fireballs and loot them. And fireballs are always located indoors. They only spawn indoors, and especially in bigger buildings. I don't think I need to really go over this one. You'll easily just come across like dozens of fireballs in your playthroughs. For the toaster, go into residential areas, and it'll be a matter of getting a little bit lucky and finding them. If you want to increase your odds here, there are 3 residential areas that have increased loot. The Grandioso Apartments in Buried City, but the one I would recommend, the Village in Blue Gate, or the Raiders Refugee in Blue Gate. I personally would go between these 2 areas and just go back and forth to farm for toasters. You'll probably get them very quickly. Arc motion cores are very easy. Arc probes should have them. Arc couriers might have them as well. And as well as, of course, any big arc robot should have plenty of arc motion cores as well. As long as you're pushing for this, you will find these in like 1 game. For tier 3, it gets a little bit harder though. You'll need 10 arc circuitry, 6 bombardier cells, and 3 motors. Starting off for arc circuitry, which is the easiest one, you'll find it in big arc as well. And you will also find tons and tons of it inside of arc probes, especially the alive ones. The arc probe route, honestly, if you just kind of hunt down for a couple of arc probes, you should get 10 arc circuitries pretty quickly. Now for the bombardier cells, you will get about 3 to 4 bombardier cells per bombardier kill, so you'll probably be needing to kill at least 2 of them. If you're solo and not really too crazy equipped, go into Buried City and get into this building here. Trap the bottom floor, and now you kind of can't be pushed by enemy players from down here, and you will be able to more safely grenade the bombardier in the middle of the map until it dies. Personally, I find that players actually don't mess with you too much when you're doing this, but yeah, a couple of snap blast grenades or even a couple of blaze grenades should do the trick. But of course, this is just an idea, and a bombardier may not always spawn there. There's a couple of other methods to farm these guys somewhat consistently. Maybe I'll even make a video for this on every map on soloing the big guys more more easily. But if you have any other method that you might prefer for killing Bombardier, then by all means, do your thing. For motors, it was a pain in the butt for me to find, but only after I had already gotten these upgrades done did I learn that you can just go onto the collapsed highway in Blue Gate and farm the engines of all of the vehicles with a closed hood. Of course, it being blue rarity will make it rare to find, but I found myself finding at least one motor every time I went into a raid. After, of course, opening the 10 or so cars that just sit in this location. It's also very safe from PvP as well, as it's kind of tucked in the corner of the map. Now, after getting everything, we've now got everything up to the proper levels. So now how do we farm the hatch keys? So there's a couple of ways to make this process feel so easy. First off, these are the materials that you will need to craft a hatch key. Sensors, which we're going to be farming them and even buying a few, so we'll leave that for later. But the advanced electrical components, we're going to need to craft ourselves. I mean, you can farm them as well, but they're a little bit more inconsistent. Thankfully, it is really cheap to craft these, so yeah, to craft an advanced electrical component, this is all you'll need. Wires we're also going to be farming, so all you really need to worry about crafting here is the electrical components, which just take a few plastic parts and rubber parts as well. It is extremely cheap. By the way, I would also recommend tracking both the advanced electrical components materials and the hatch key materials as well, just to make things a little bit easier. So anyways, let's kind of make things a little bit easier to visualize. So let's go ahead and craft here a bunch of electrical components. After that, now, as we can see here, all we need is wires for the advanced electrical components, and over hatch keys, the sensors. So that's essentially all you need to craft hatch keys: wires and sensors. All of the rest kind of comes for free through Scrappy, so don't let it overwhelm you. All you need is 3 wires and 3 sensors. That's all you need per hatch key. So first of all, you can get 10 wires and 5 sensors off of Celeste per day, which will cost you only 90 assorted seeds, which will yield you to almost 2 full keys. On top of that, you can also buy an extra key for 9,000 credits off of Shani, which will already get us to pretty much 3 full keys per day. So even if you're not doing this farm, you can get 3 keys per day pretty easily. So that's a quick shortcut for a few keys, but let's take a look at the farm now. For sensors and wires, you're going to ideally need a place that has electrical and technological. And thankfully, there is a perfect spot for this in Arc Raiders, and that's going to be in the Blue Gate on Pilgrim's Peak. And this is the absolute perfect spot. Not only is it on the edge of the map, making PvP a bit easier to manage, but it also is very close to an extraction point and even very close to a hatch key point as well. So what we're gonna need to do is hop into the game with a free loadout, at least if you want to farm without constantly worrying about losing your inventory anyways. But yeah, this farm is very free loadout friendly, so you can kind of rest easy. Of course, the big challenges are going to be the PvP fights on the way there and out. Wherever we spawn, we make our way to Pilgrim's Peak. If you spawn anywhere really southwest of the map and it's like the middle of the game, this is going to be your worst case scenario. Regardless though, if you spawn somewhere near the southwest, make your way to the Adorned Wreckage first. This doesn't need to be a wasted run. In the Adorned Wreckage, there are these kind of like camera setups around the wreckage, and all of them have like a near 100% chance to give you a sensor. It's actually been pretty rare for me not to find a sensor on these. I think there's about 3 or so of these cameras set up around, but this is a great sensor spot. Now, when you do manage to get to Pilgrim's Peak, it's not complicated. Let's simply put it, loot everything here. These big computer machines here will almost always yield a sensor and a ton of wires. Occasionally, you'll also get voltage converters, batteries, power cables, damaged heat sinks, cooling fans, and well, just about any electrical and technological rare material that you can really think of. These little computers here, by the way, at the entrance of the Pilgrim's Peak give a crap ton of batteries. So if you need batteries, you can probably extract with like a full stack of batteries really easily if you wanted to. Now, there's not really any secret spot here to find a ton of sensors or wires in this location. The entire location is filled with sensors and wires. All of these computers, the drawers, and these machines on the wall as well, all of them give you a crap ton of wires and sensors. And then there actually is one possible secret loot if you do go up the tower. If you built your character to open security breaches, there is a security breach upstairs, which I do have it. And in this game, for me, for example, it yielded a Bobcat tier 2. So that was pretty cool. I've also gotten Exodus modules and some other cool stuff off of this. If you loot this entire place on your own, you'll get somewhere along the lines of 1 to 2 stacks of wires, a full stack of batteries, electrical components, and even some advanced electrical components as well if you're lucky. And of course, for the sensors, you'll get about 4 to 7 sensors. That kind of seems to be the average for me. I haven't tried this on nighttime, by the way. Nighttime will be coming out soon, and I believe you will be getting a ton more sensors if you do it on that. This will yield you comfortably more than 2 hatch keys per game. So even if you brought your own hatch key, you will still come out with a profit. If you do about 2 to 3 of these runs, you'll probably get enough for like 7 to 8 keys. Plus the 3 keys we pretty much get daily from the traders, and you're looking at a solid 10 or so keys for maybe an hour or 2 of work. If you ask me, that's pretty easy to come by. And by the way, if you come to Pilgrim's Peak and it has already been looted, still check all of the machinery anyways. A lot of the times, players leave behind some sensors or batteries or other materials as they probably couldn't fit it in their inventory. Usually there is more stuff here than someone can even fit in their inventory. Now that's going to be all for today's video. If you want to stop losing loot on extraction, I hope this video is of some value to you. Thank you legends very much for watching, and I'll be catching you guys on the next one. Peace.